Let's get started. All right. Thank you so much for coming out today. This Shelf Life 2, a big day for small press, was brought to you by USC Gail Gardner Roski School of Fine Art and Visions and Voices. We're part of the Visions and Voices series. Again, this is really just an incredible event. There are over 50 vendors here today. 80 vendors. Whoa. Okay, last count. 5 workshops, and on behalf of my co-producer, Eva and I, and all our incredibly hardworking work-study folks, there's Yuri Ogito and Megan Chen, I'd like to welcome you to the speaker portion of the event. While I have just a quick minute, I also want to thank the faculty, the design faculty that have turned out today, and all the students. There's a tremendous number of student volunteers that came out to help the vendors. They are all volunteers. Again, whoop. Yeah, so maybe you might want to turn off your cell phones too. Oops. Oh, I touched it. Nice. Oh, I touched it. Yeah. And what I'd like to start by doing is introducing my co-producer and initiator of this incredible feat, Eva Wojciak. Come on.
Okay, I'm going to make this brief. We all know why we're here. This is really exciting for me. I have really cool people here in the courtyards. There's lots to look at. There's lots to get inspired by. I think we're all here because we believe in free press. We believe in small press. We believe in supporting homegrown industry here. We have many wonderful workshops that I hope you participate in. We have, amazing speakers that have traveled from very, very far away. I want to call your attention to a couple things that are happening today at the Mocha table. We're going to have a book signing at the Slake table. We are going to have readings at Root Simple out in the far courtyard, and please don't miss that far courtyard. They're a little isolated, but it's great out there. There's live painting going on, live silkscreen workshops by Modern Multiples. There's tons of stuff to look at. We have folks that have traveled here from Quebec that you can find outside. We have folks from Paris. We have folks from Russia. So this is kind of amazing. I'm really jazzed, and I hope you guys are too. We have amazing art stars walking around and in our audience that aren't even part of our events, so I'm super excited. I hope you all say hi to everyone and talk to everyone, and we have a great time. And I'm honored and excited to introduce Byron Coley, who is our special moderator today. And Byron has worked for he did Forced Exposure. He has worked for New York Rocker and slept in their offices. He runs an independent book publishing and record publishing distribution business along with some of the folks from Sonic Youth called Ecstatic Yod. And he's written for Arthur Magazine. He's an amazing mind, an amazing writer, an amazing talker, and an amazing moderator, I hope, right?
Let's hope.
You're on.
Okay.
You're on.
Hi, I wanted to first just thank Eva and Haven for their tireless work organizing this event. You know, Shelf Life, as you probably know, is dedicated to celebrating the art and science of small press publishing, as represented by physical objects and the virtual world of e-zines, blogs, and what have you. Even as people move towards these virtual formats, though, the presumably archaic formats of zines and books have been resurgent in a way that really was not predictable, I don't think, by anyone. And there's a Bazaar out here, and there's a lot of workshops for people doing different things, and hopefully you'll get a chance to check them out. The format for this talk is going to be a little bit different than was originally planned because of some archaic technology problems. First up, will be Gary Panter, and because he doesn't have a visual component available for his talk, he'll do a short talk, and I will mime any of the images that he wants me to. And then following that, we'll present Chip Kidd, who has a more professional, really, kind of a presentation. Although, given Gary's proclivities, that doesn't take much necessarily to do that. And then following that, we'll do a moderated Q&A session that I'll do some of, and then perhaps we'll get a chance to throw open the floor to people and stuff like that. So anyway, my introduction for Gary. Gary Panter is one of the greatest and most influential artists to emerge from what might be thought of as the punk underground. Although his early work precedes the use of the safety pin as design motif, Gary found his métier after moving from Texas to Los Angeles and getting involved in the scene that revolved around Slash magazine in the latter part of the 70s. His creations helped define that era. People creamed themselves over inventions like the neo-primitive cave team Jimbo and the Roztox Manifesto, which featured such nuggets of wisdoms as waiting for art talent scouts. There are no art talent scouts. Face it, no one will seek you out. Mr. Panter's visual work, dubbed ratty art by some, was quickly embraced by a generation of artists and writers who created a whole new comics-based design aesthetic, first manifested in crucial cultural magazines such as Weirdo and Raw. The influence of these sources, as well as their more subterranean precursors, weaseled their way deep into the public's consciousness in ways both big and small. Panter moved to Brooklyn in the mid-1980s when Paul Rubin's massively subversive Pee Wee Herman show went from being a Bazaar adult theater production to a Tim Burton-directed film and finally a CBS television program. Gary had been working with Pee Wee since its beginnings, and his mind-boggling set designs won him 3 Emmys during the 5 seasons it ran. From his eyrie on the East Coast, Mr. Panter has been a prolific creator, barfing out a dizzying number of projects. Paintings, comics, album covers, books, DIY pamphlets, toys, and just about any other cool thing you can think of. He also became obsessed with light shows over the last decade or two and has managed to wrangle up some of the most berserk installations and majestic oil blob mastery since the heyday of the Fillmore ballrooms. Gary is also a prolific and primitive musician. His record releases date back to the 1970s and include collaborations with San Francisco's Residents. He is currently involved with a trio including Devin Flynn and Ross Goldstein, and I don't know if he has any of his records for sale here, but if he does not, you should make haste to seek them out. They are wondrous musical manifestations of the crazily syncretic action that fills his visual work. Without further ado, I give you Gary Panter.
I don't know if I can stand for 10 minutes. Maybe I'll sit and cross my legs. And the reason you're here and that we're starting late is because it takes a lot longer to hitchhike from Santa Monica than I thought. LA is vast, and if it weren't for like these Boy Scouts picked me up and we're headed for Bakersfield, and I said, no, I don't think USC's in Bakersfield. I don't think so. And so anyway, I'm pretty sick of my story. Usually it's like great to have slides. I don't have PowerPoint. And in fact, I haven't had a phone or internet for 6 months, which has been kind of great and kind of horrible, which meant I didn't really know how to get here or where this thing was happening and so on. I guess online it said this starts at 1:30, and on some places, anything on the internet people think is true, but it's all lies. And it's all a pack of lies. Says that everything in media is lies, and every interview you read is wrong. And so get used to it. Just make up stuff. It's just as real as the stuff you're going to read and so on. So let's see. I went to art school in Texas after growing up in the Church of Christ in Texas. And we went to church every second of our lives in Texas. I was a missionary to Belfast, Northern Ireland in 1969. Yes, hello. And we knocked on all the doors in Belfast and suggested to the Irish who were involved in a long, evil religious war that perhaps they needed another religion to help solve their problem. And so people were scared of us and slammed the doors in our face. Also, it wasn't raining, so people were on rooftop I don't know how you, rooftop. It's, yeah. Lying in the sun with their chest bared, getting a few, a bit of vitamin D up there. And so anyway, but I snuck off into, there was a great arts council. I sneaking. And so I just want to be an artist. Since I was a kid, I want to be an artist. My dad's a painter. He's still alive, still painting cowboy and Indian paintings. And so I went to art school at East Texas State University, which turned out to be a great school. And I stopped going to church pretty much right off the bat. I was a super art nerd, so they put me with the grad students immediately who gave me like arsenic-laced LSD, which it was about as effective as my father's getting me a job in a funeral home for discouraging me from doing strange things with my art. I got a job as a janitor after art school, something to look forward to. When you graduate, you know that you graduate with like a $100,000 debt or whatever it is, and with a diploma, if you look on the back, there's a little kick me post-it note to go to your back. Just put that on your back, go out in the world, it'll make your way, it'll be great. And so Texas, I worked as a janitor, I worked at a color separation place, and I couldn't get any work. I drove all over begging people, so I came to LA. I went to New York first, and this will like take up the rest of my time, and so mercifully. So I went to New York, so I was thinking about moving to New York first, and looked in the Village Voice, and Byron's heard the story, Matt, everyone's my friends have heard the story. And I went to, there was a place that looked pretty cheap, and so I knocked on the door, in the Village, and the door opened, and there were two women, bald-headed women, standing there in red robes, and they were tattooed from head to toe with blue arabesques, which I ignored as best as I could. And the apartment looked great. And I said, wow, this apartment's great. It looks very cheap. I mean, why is it so cheap? And they said, well, we're renting the room out in the back. It's not really this apartment. This is where we live. We're renting the back room out. And so I said, well, great. May I have a look? And they said, sure. And they went and they went to the back of the apartment, opened the door, and I walked in, and there was a big cage with a big gorilla sitting in the cage. And there was shit all over the walls and floor and ceiling. And they said, we don't think the gorilla's very happy. We're going to get rid of the gorilla. And so I moved to LA. And that's how I ended up in LA. And I drove in my pickup from Texas. I only made it 200 miles before the piston went through the oil pan, and so I spent all the money I had, like getting the engine rebuilt. So I arrived in LA with no money. I didn't know anyone, except I'd heard of this guy, Justin Carroll, who's still in LA and has a design company. Very nice person. He let me sponge off of him for a while, and I was desperate. And when it comes time to make money, you must be desperate unless you're rich. And God, I hope you're rich. So anyway, it forced me to really seriously take my book around my portfolio to all the record companies, the movie poster companies, everything, the magazines. It was New West at the time, and people started hiring me. And so then I started finding a home in LA. I was here for about 10 years. I used to go to a record store and try to find out what was happening, and through that I discovered, the stuff I'd read about. I could finally get my hands on the Todd Rundgren albums I didn't have, and the Utopia albums I probably wish I didn't find, and the Sparks albums and Brian Eno records. And then I saw Slash magazine on a newsstand at Gower Gulch, and where I ate lunch every day at Don Amigo's for many years. And I thought, this looks scary, but it looks like what my work looks like, so maybe I could find a home here. So I went and visited the people at Slash. They were nice people. They gave me a page a month, and also through doing record covers, I started being discovered as an artist. I did 2 Chili Pepper album covers, 3 unauthorized Frank Zappa covers. And since my work was, and again, I'm just rattling this as fast as I can because I only have 2 more seconds. But I think I can say a lot in those 2 seconds. And, well, I was wrong. But let's go ahead anyway, just for a moment. So anyway, Slash was great. We're nice people. Claude Bessie, Kick Boy Face, was totally this great, incredible cheerleader for the punk rock community, as was Byron and Will Amato and a lot of wonderful, Chris Desjardins, and a lot of wonderful friends I made at Slash, and it was great times. But... not exactly, but young people, it's romanticized, these past scenes. It was a fun scene. It was really great. But I'm in a band now, and we play in Bushwick, and it's the same. So don't think that it's happening somewhere else or some other time. It's always happening now while you're alive. You can't really do much about it after you're dead. You have to do it while you're alive, participate in a scene, make a scene, and these little mini comics, which I still make, they're a form of currency, and they're really a fascinating thing. And when I was in town, really the only the first mini comics I saw were by Linda Berry and Matt Groening, myself, Byron Werner, a group of artists who were working as World Imitation. And one thing I did with my comics when I started making them was try to put them in the wrong place. There were comic shops, but I looked for dress shops and places that didn't have comics, and LA Iworks let me show my work there. And so sometimes going to the wrong place is a good thing to do, as far as like trying to get your work somewhere. Like if you're in the subway and you smell cyanide, run the direction the other people aren't running, because they're all going to pile up at the turnstile and die. You'd be better off running into the tunnel. In LA, I don't know about your subway. I don't know. If you're running on the highway and everyone's driving down no, you shouldn't drive the wrong way on the highway. Drive the right way on the highway. But in an emergency, flee from your car in the least occupied direction, and this is how your art career can work too. Flee in the wrong direction with your art. I'm still making art. I'm still fascinated. It's a great thing. I mean, I'm getting old now, which is weird, because as my father, he's 85, said the other day, the brain doesn't know how old it is. And I think it's true. The body knows how old it is, but the brain doesn't. And a great thing about being an artist as opposed to an athlete is your career lasts past the age of 24, and you can actually get better and better and better theoretically until you become senile and stupid and start drooling and they have to haul you away. But up to that point, it's a wonderful, incredible thing. It's a great way to meet people. Again, do not compete with other artists. This is pointless. This will kill you. This is the worst thing. Everyone makes different art, and everyone has a different audience, if you can find your audience. We speak different languages, and there's different directions to be had. I'm distracted by my friend who's just entered the back of the room, and he needs a seat. Can someone make a seat for a place for Hudson Marquez? You're going to sit on your cane. No, you can't sit on your cane. Come on in. So anyway, we're going to speak a lot more on this panel. I'm going to stop making jokes here and go along. You can look online and see a lot of my work at garypanter.com, and we'll hear more about that. But we might as well move ahead with this thing. Okay, thank you very much.